Welcome to another edition of We Need to Talk About Movies, brought to you by BanterFlix.com. And now, here's your host, Jim McClean.
Hello, I'm your host, Jim McClean. Welcome to the latest episode of We Need to Talk About Movies. It's a special edition of We Need to Talk About Movies. It's the March edition of the BanterFlix Ramble. Now, dear listeners, you might be wondering to yourself, what's different? Because the BanterFlix podcasts are normally a bit rambly, particularly when I'm involved. But this is a little bit different because we've no set theme. I know people have said we normally don't have a set theme, but no, trust us, we really don't have a set theme. We're going to talk for about an hour, a little bit over an hour, and just generally chat about some of the things that have caught our attention over the past month. And I can't ramble alone. I am joined on this recording by two fellow Ramblies. And I think, if I'm correct, they are making their debut on the Ramble cast. And that is James Oliver from Huey Lewis and Reviews, straight from annoying me with his opinions and his upbeat, enthusiastic thoughts about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Hello to you, James.
There are some points, actually, we never got round to. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding.
Let's be honest, right? At some point, Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to come up in the next hour. Now, the other person is BanterFlix's very own Victoria Brown. Hello to you, Victoria.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, Victoria. How are you on this rather sunny Tuesday evening?
Yeah, I am being blinded by the sun right now, but it's all good.
Yeah, it is good. It allowed me to get a movie reference in just before we started to record. And it was a movie reference that, once again, as they say, never work with kids. Because you bring up a reference and you go, this is a pretty safe bet. Everybody's seen Cocoon, surely. You know, Cocoon made us all believe again. And no, I got blank expressions from both of our contributors on the BanterFlix Ramble who had never seen Cocoon. Maybe my reference to how Victoria is looking, for those of you who are able to watch this video, I'll maybe put a little post up on Facebook and maybe a side-by-side, but I don't know. I wouldn't want to insult a local writer. But anyway, so that's our contributors who will be joining me on this rambly edition of the podcast. And I think we'll kind of just get straight into it. And we'll start with you, James. There's no set agenda for this. Generally, movie news-wise, trailers, anything along that lines. Before we get into specifics of movies, what caught your attention over March?
The Suicide Squad trailer that came out the other week there, or other day, I should say, looks really fun. I'm probably in the minority of people who actually enjoyed, David Ayer's 2016 version. Simply because you could go in and just switch your brain off, and that's that. Whereas James Gunn seems to have brought his kind of trademark dark humor to it as such, like we've seen in Guardians of the Galaxy. So yeah, looks like a lot of fun. King Shark, I mean, I'm all for it. I don't even know who King Shark is, but I mean, it's voiced by Sylvester Stallone and he eats people. So I'm all for it. I can get with that. So.
Winner, James. Look, all I'm going to say is, how long was that trailer? Like 2.5 minutes or so?
Something like that.
It entertained me in 2.5 minutes more than Zack Snyder's Justice League did in nearly 4 hours.
Now you see, you're baiting me. You're gonna bait me here.
well, the thing is, James, I think you baited yourself when you said that you were a fan of the first Suicide Squad, a film that was a true mess. And whilst it did give us Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, which is a plus, although it did leer at her quite a lot, and it leered at her derriere quite a little bit too much, that even me, who's far from the Mr. Darcy of the BanterFlix Brigade, there's a Pride and Prejudice reference in there for the kids, and I'm far from the Mr. Darcy of the BanterFlix Brigade, but even when I notice it, I feel a bit self-aware. And then when you see what the difference a female director comes in and does with Birds of Prey, which I know it's a film that a lot of people don't like. I adored Birds of Prey. And I know, talking of that, and I'm sure we will, I've mentioned Zack Snyder's Justice League. We have already seen, 1 million tweets searching for Zack Snyder to continue on the Snyderverse. One of the things that caught my attention today was Godzilla versus Kong. IMDb have had to take a lot of the negative 1-star reviews for a title that isn't actually out yet, but it is Snyderverse fans saying. And again, I will clarify that it's something I didn't clarify on the last pod when we talked about Justice League. There is a vocal few of those who've clamored for the Snyder Cut release and have demanded it be presented to them have acted abhorrently. They have been terrible. I say just look at what some of the well-respected female film critics have had to put up with in the past couple of weeks since the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League. It is a vocal minority. But again, we see, I said this on the pod the last time, you have no idea the forces Warner Brothers you have unleashed, and there we go. They are unhappy that Warner Brothers execs have said, look, we're not going to do another Zack Snyder film. So they have said, we will 1-star review Warner Brothers titles. Who really cares about IMDb titles? I don't really that much. But anyway, sorry, James, I just went on a rant. You said I baited you. I think I baited myself more than anything. But yes, you were going to tell all our viewers and all our listeners that you loved the first Suicide Squad. And even though we've now got James Gunn, who looks like he's maybe bringing a screenplay, an interesting screenplay, which the first one didn't have, and Zack Snyder's Justice League definitely didn't have. He's got something that might just be fun.
Yeah,
you preferred the first one. You preferred the first one.
No, I didn't know. No, well, this one isn't even out yet, so I can't say if I hear it.
You're gonna say it's on the poster already. James Oliver. I preferred the first one. Huey Lewis and reviews. You'd take that. Let's be honest. You'd take that.
I mean, you know what? If it gets me more publicity.
There we go. Well, what I'm saying, I shouldn't say you preferred. What I should, to clarify again, a little bit of Freudian slip on my own behalf, was not you preferred the first Suicide Squad. You're a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't it's just one of those ones. Like I say, you go in, you switch off, and it's good. It gave us, as you rightfully said, the introduction of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn for the first ever on-screen portrayal of her. So that was good to see. I didn't mind Will Smith as Deadshot. Maybe just a bit cliche, but I didn't mind him. Everyone else kind of, I mean, I don't know what Cara Delevingne was trying to do in that film. She looked like a wacky inflatable arm man, They were like, I mean, doing all her witchy voodoo stuff, and that's pure CGI there, by the way. But it has its pros and cons, like any film, pros and cons.
Not
mainly
a lot
cons.
Of pros. Not a lot
Just
of pros.
Mainly cons. That's what I'm saying. Mainly cons.
And I noticed you didn't mention Jared Leto's Joker, but let's not go there. Victoria Brown, where are you going to win? Were you a fan of the first Suicide Squad? Are you pumped about? I think this one is the Suicide Squad now. I think that's the way it's kind of.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a sequel stroke, kind of very soft reboot of the whole thing.
Yeah, I really, really hated the first one. Like you both said, like Harley Quinn, she was incredible. Like to see her actually on the screen properly, and even in the new trailer, her new costume looks very cool. Jared Leto's Joker killed me. I just couldn't. Every time he came on the screen, I cringed. Like the rest of the film wasn't actually that bad, but he made it so much worse. I know it's not fair to put all the blame on him because it's not all his fault, but at the same time, no.
It's mostly his fault, though.
It is.
Like 80-20.
It's so bad.
Yeah, there we go. Look, for anybody who wants to hear my rant about Jared Leto's Joker, just listen to the previous podcast where we talked about Zack Snyder's Justice League. But look, let's not allow ourselves, because we really got into a nearly an hour and 40-minute chat about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Let's not allow ourselves to go too much down that and let it dominate everything. But I think that happened today as we recorded. I just seen the thing with Warner Brothers and IMDb, and I just went, oh, really? Is this what it's going to be? Is this what we're going to have to put up with now until, Zack Snyder gets another go at something? I said it in the previous pod. This is all I will say, then I will draw a line under it. There is nothing wrong with a graphic novel, a comic book series of the Snyderverse. I think that would probably keep everybody happy, but people just seem to think that it has to be on the big screen. Zack Snyder's a lovely guy. I just don't know why so many people seem to have such a Jeremy Clarkson style hard on for him. I really don't know why they just seem to like love him in the way like people love Jeremy Clarkson when he was hosting Top Gear. But yeah, seems like a nice guy. As I said in the previous pod, I'm glad he got to make the film that he wanted to do. It's just that it's head-bangingly dull and bum-numbingly long. That's kind of my thing. Victoria, for you, anything else, movie news in the world of cinema or even greater TV, I suppose, as well, has caught your attention?
I saw that Russell Crowe's been cast in the Thor Love and Thunder, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Russell Crowe, but it depends what the character is, I guess.
It also depends what Russell Crowe we're going to get. Are we going to get fat, grumpy Russell Crowe, or we're going to get lean and mean kind of thespian Russell Crowe? Well, hang on. What do you mean you don't like Russell Crowe? I know he's a bit of a mean and moody guy, and he really loves his poetry, and he really didn't like being snubbed from the BAFTAs and not being able to do his poem on air. But I genuinely think, Russell Crowe as a performer is a pretty reliable on-screen presence.
Oh, no, he's good. Like, there's never been a performance where he's been bad that I've seen anyway, but he's not someone that I would like actively seek out to watch ever. Like, there's times where I've seen a film that he's in and I've gone, oh yeah, he was good, but I would never like actively go out of my way to try and watch his stuff.
Yeah, I get you. I can get that. There's actors that you go, yeah, they're great, but I wouldn't rush out to see them in the cinema. James, you excited? I don't think anyone has revealed what it is. They were trying to keep it a secret, I believe. But I think that's the problem when you have someone on set and you have people with smartphones and stuff now. It's just, this stuff just leaks out. I think, were you saying on the Zack Snyder Justice League pod, I think, like, hasn't Charlie Cox been seen on the Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man, whatever it is called, No Way Home or whatever it's called? He's been spotted on set. Someone took a photo of him. I don't think it was in costume or anything like that, in the Daredevil costume, but he was spotted or photographed on set. Maybe it wasn't you, James. I
think it might have been, yeah. But yeah, he was photographed just in his suit. So a lot of people are taken from that he will be Peter Parker's attorney, because obviously the way Far From Home ended with his identity being revealed to the entire world by Mysterio. So yeah, a lot of people are putting two and two together, sort of thing. Could be entirely wrong. They could have literally just saw Charlie Cox in a nice suit. He could have been grabbing a Starbucks, and people have been like, oh, he's on set. And it's like, maybe he wasn't at all. It could have been about 12 blocks from the set. Nobody knows.
Charlie Cox is a sexy man. I would happily take a photo of him in a nice suit, try to keep it clean, Jim. It's pre-watershed and all that type of stuff. But he's a good looking guy. And I said in the past, I've said on the previous pod, I've said it before, I can't bring myself to watch the last episode of Daredevil because then it's over. So if he is on, if he is going to be brought back in the MCU, then hell yeah, I can watch that final episode and know that Daredevil is back, and maybe even Jessica Jones can come back because I love Jessica Jones. Fingers crossed. Iron Fist and the other one you can keep. Luke Cage, nah, not for me. Luke Cage, the Luke Cage stuff on Netflix just was like a poor man's version of The Wire. But hey, each to their own. Have any been watching, just talking TV stuff, just kind of going off on a tangent? Hey, it's a ramble, we can do this. Any been watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier so far?
Not yet. Saving myself. WandaVision kind of ruined me.
Okay, I think I've seen you. I'll come back to the WandaVision ruining you, Victoria, but you nodded your head, James. So you have. What's your thoughts so far?
I'm not going. I don't know whether it's because WandaVision is still quite fresh in my mind. That it's like, because there was obviously some big things that happened in that series, and then it's went straight into Falcon and Winter Soldier. That I don't know whether it's that like it was, the hype kind of died out a bit, or it just switched so quickly that I didn't have, time to kind of build it up as much as other people have. I thought it's okay so far. I mean, I really can't turn around and say it's been phenomenal. But it's been decent. Like, it's still entertaining. Still does what you want it to, sort of thing. But yeah, kind of like Beverly Hills Cop sort of thing. That kind of dynamic cop duo between the two of them. Like, something like that. But yeah,
I remember when Axel Foley, went through the air, kind of doing loads of stuff Falcon style back in the 80s. No, I'm really making fun. I'm actually really pleasantly surprised by it because it seems to be following on the kind of tone of the Captain America stuff, which I think is the best within the MCU. I don't think they've topped Winter Soldier just yet for that idea of taking Captain America and making him interesting by giving him that unflinching set of morals and letting him refuse to break them. This looks like it's going to be a carry on from that. I think we might get Hydra coming back. There's lots of things like there's definitely stuff left over from like the George Floyd stuff in America. That's very prevalent. You know, the fact that that America's maybe not ready for a black Captain America, so they decide just to bring somebody else back. Sorry, spoiler, Victoria. There's a new Captain America.
Yeah, I saw.
You've that to look forward to. But I think it's slow. I don't think it's trying to grab your attention in the same way as WandaVision did. But WandaVision was always going to grab the attention in the way that it was set up and its premise. I think this is only 6 episodes. We're 2 episodes in as we record this ramble. I'm pleasantly surprised. It is slow. It's a slow burner. I think it's just going to be I think it's going to finish really strong. Fingers crossed. Plus, I love the character of Winter Soldier. But you said, Victoria, that WandaVision broke you. So...
Yes. Oh my god. Like, I didn't go in expecting much because I was trying to avoid spoilers. But it was so much better than I expected. Like, I did not expect to care about Scarlet Witch as much as I did. Because, like, in the main Avengers, like, she is cool, but there wasn't a lot of... Not even that there wasn't a lot of depth to her, they didn't focus on her that much, so I didn't really care. Whereas now you're seeing not only how much the Avengers meant to her, but how much being, like, a part of their teams affected her. Like, her grief was... It felt so real to me, and it was such a... like, Vision's speech about how grief is just love preserved. I thought that was amazing. I sat in my room and cried watching it. But yeah, I'm kind of the same as James. I think if I went from WandaVision straight into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I might not... It would be too big of a jump because there's such a difference in tone. So yeah, I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait a couple of weeks, binge it, and then wait a couple of weeks for Loki to come out because I think that's June. So that's my plan anyway.
Yeah, for the next few years, we're going to have a lot of Marvel stuff on the small screen. A lot of stuff from the MCU. I'm the person. It's weird because I see, when we were recording actually our Justice League pod, I was looking through Facebook memories and I was looking back at an article I wrote, one of the few ones that actually proved quite popular when I talked about comic book movie fatigue. And I'm kind of like going, it kind of feels more relevant than ever now in the fact that it's so much MCU content is going to be coming through on Disney Plus. And then in the next year or two, we're going to have so much Star Wars content coming through in the small screen as well that you just don't know if the quality threshold will remain. I mean, I loved WandaVision. I didn't have a full down emotional breakdown. Shock horror. I know I'm usually the person that has, emotional breakdowns at the smallest thing, but I did have a few bit of dust in my eyes, particularly in the latter episodes. I'm going to come to you, James, very quickly. See what you thought of WandaVision. I know you talked about it briefly, but for you, Victoria, I'm guessing, and you binged it. You didn't watch it episodically.
I waited a wee bit and then I binged it like right up until like the week before the last episode, which was a bad idea because I had to wait like the full week before the finale. But I didn't want to have to wait in between each week.
See, this is the thing, you kids. This is but going back in my youth. This is what I had to put up with. If I had to waited on a cliffhanger, I had to wait, maybe a week, sometimes longer for it. And I've talked about this on a previous pod, where I actually quite like the fact that I made a conscious effort because it was lockdown. Because let's be honest, there wasn't a lot going on. I'm working from home, and you're only really going out for exercise and shopping. So it kind of became a thing. Like Friday was WandaVision Day and She and Todd's lockdown on Radio Wall Street. That's what those days kind of became, and I enjoyed that. And we actually did that as well with Cobra Kai. I know Cobra Kai was released by Netflix all in one go. We said, right, we'll watch an episode on Sunday, and then we'll wait another Sunday and watch it. And I think I enjoyed it more in that sense, rather than just binging and let it go. I like the fact that it was trying to tell a story about grief. I think, we talk about vocal fans, or I mentioned earlier on about a vocal few. I think there was some fans let down by what Wanda was finally revealed to be, and the fact that it wasn't trying to redefine the MCU. It wasn't really bringing in the multiverse. It teased it in the most brilliant possible way. I will say that, and I will admit that I kind of lost my mind with the arrival of someone at the door, kind of going, oh my God, this is what they're going to do. And then maybe there was for a second, I was disappointed when it was revealed what it was. I think in hindsight, having stepped away from it a little bit and rewatched it, I think, because they're short episodes, they're not long. They're not as long as The Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think for what it was trying to do, yes, it finished in the standard MCU, crash, bang, wallop, rinse, repeat kind of idea in the big finale, but the stuff that it was there and kind of trying to explore the theme of grief, I thought it did really well. But that's enough of me rambling. James, we didn't really give you much time to really share your thoughts on WandaVision.
Pardon me. No, I liked it. Thought it was great.
I thought for a second there, James, just you were maybe getting really caught up there and kind of feeling a bit emotional just thinking about it again.
Clearing up. Yeah. No, it's just a lot of, a good few of my friends didn't like the finale, thought it was quite disappointing, especially the aforementioned character we just talked about who shows up, and I thought the exact same thing. I thought, oh my God, is this how they're going to integrate this certain group of characters? And then it turned out to be just the butt of a joke at the end of it. So yeah, but overall, no, thought it was great. I like how she actually gets referred to now as the Scarlet Witch. I was just like, about goddamn time. Like, shit. Because you're watching all the, you watch back all the Avengers films and whatnot, and you're thinking, oh, is that? Oh, okay, cool. But of course, they couldn't use her proper name at the time due to, I think it was licensing issues. I think it was, or something to do with that. And then, you finally hear Agatha call her it, and you're just like, yes, now she's a badass bitch. Go on, girl. Go on. So yeah, overall, I liked it. Thought it was great.
Can I just say, Catherine Hahn might just be my new favorite villain in the MCU. Now, it's because of one small reason, right? And the song's kind of out there. I was kind of going, oh yeah, she's just going to be a generic villain. And there's a dog involved in WandaVision, and then there's a revelation about what happened to the dog. And I was like, right, you are just the worst villain in MCU. You're up there now for me with Michael Keaton in Far From Home and Thanos. You're above Thanos for what you did to a dog. You're the Marvel's worst villain. Not in terms of like your crappiest, but you're just the most evil villain of all time. I thought she was great. I think I don't know what they're going to do with Elizabeth Olsen's character now. Part of me does think that they maybe are potentially going to set her up for being whatever phase we're in now, 4, I don't know, 3.5, 4, 8, I forget. I don't keep up with that stuff. I could be wrong, I could be reading it wrong, but it looks like they might be setting her up potentially as this phase's big villain. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. We know Scarlet Witch, she has a bit of a dabbled history in the comic books. She's not always a goodie. She's one of those good kind of flawed characters or interesting characters. She's a goodie and she's baddie. She's like Catwoman. But anyway, I don't know. Any thoughts without going too spoilerifically before we move on to anything else, guys?
I think she's going to be in Doctor Strange, the second one. I think that's the setup that's going for. But besides that, I don't know what they could do. Because I know a lot of people are saying as well that is it Khan the Conqueror? I think was rumored to be like the Phase's next big like Thanos type villain. I think, but I don't know. Could go either way.
I've no idea. All I know is that Sam Raimi is directing that film, so bring it on. Doctor Strange deserved a sequel long before this, but and talking of MCU, I suppose we might touch on it as well. Disney Plus, we're going to get Black Widow there, we're going to get Cruella there. I'll hold my hand up. I've given in and done a premium rental and been bitterly disappointed because I went for Barb and Star because I love all the people involved and was bitterly disappointed. It just wasn't for me. Do you any of you think that this might be these titles? I'll get the words out. These titles might be the films that maybe get you to tempt you to maybe take the plunge on some premium VOD?
No. Like, I do want to see them, but I don't want to pay that much for. Like, part of the reason I don't mind paying in an actual cinema is because you're getting the experience of the dark room, the comfy seat, the big screen, but it's not the same in my living room.
Yeah, but Victoria, you don't have the cinema wankers that are not in every cinema, but there are cinema wankers in some cinemas. You don't have to put up with them. You don't have to put up with that person who's talking throughout the entire film. You don't have to put up the person who looks at the very end, like in the Black Widow, and kind of goes, "So what's going on? What's going on? Who's he? Who's she?" You don't have to put up with them anymore, Victoria. You can just sit and just watch that in the pleasure of your own home. Of course, I'm just saying this in jest because I would always choose to go for the cinematic experience. And I think in America they're doing a simultaneous release where it's going to be on Disney Plus and a premium rental. It might be like it wasn't Soul. What was the Disney film they put? Mulan. Where you bought it early so you get unlimited review. It's not. I don't know if they're going to do it that way with this. It might be. I can see them doing that with Cruella. Maybe it might be different with different kind of stuff for Black Widow. I'm kind of like, if cinemas aren't properly reopened by the time it's released, hopefully they are. We're not quite certain here in Northern Ireland. There's a roadmap with no set dates, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. But I don't know. I might just be tempted, and that might just be that I end up watching Black Widow at home, and then the next MCU movie I end up watching at the cinema, maybe later in the year. I don't know, because in the grand scheme of things, 20 quid isn't that big a difference when you add in all your cinema crap. By the time you've got that, you can just make that all at home and things. But I don't know. James, you clearly nodded your head as well. As someone who works in the cinema, of course you're going to be biased. You're going to say to everyone that they have to go watch it in the OmniMax experience on the biggest screen possible, and just you pay the money to see that film on the big screen.
Pardon me. Yeah. Well, to be honest,
don't get all emotional again.
I don't need to keep clearing my phone. It's really annoying. I won't be entirely biased, no, because unlike Victoria, I would probably pay the money, and it's not even a case of, like, how can I put it? It's not like, choosing one over the other. Like, I would love to be in a cinema right now. And just on a side note, there's a friend of mine on Instagram who lives in America, and he goes to his local theater, which is reopened. And I'm thinking to myself, if cinemas in America, which is still one of the badly affected areas in the world, are reopening, I was like, no offense, guys, up on the hill. I don't know which hill we're talking about here. I was like, where's the harm in opening up our cinemas? There's been, and not just my cinema chain, every cinema chain in Belfast in the country has been implementing these precautions, and they're safe, and people are obeying by the rules. And sorry, I'm getting really frustrated on that note. Anyway, but that's all saying that. But
I'm kind of sitting. I can see both sides of the story. I mean, I missed the cinema. I really missed the cinema throughout January. January was really, I've talked about it openly in this pod before. I've talked it with friends. January, February were really dark for me. And I know when I get in that bad place, I go to the cinema. I unwind. As I always say, you leave your emotional baggage, if it works. It doesn't for everybody. At the kind of ticket desk, go and watch your films, and then pick them all your emotional baggage up at the end, and for 2-3 hours or whatever, you kind of forget it. But at the same time, we aren't out of the woods yet. And I think from a cinema point of view, for a chain point of view, there's no point in going back and reopening only maybe for 2-3 months down the line to be told, right, unfortunately you're going to have to shut again. I think once we're in a place that we can reopen, I agree. I retweeted it a long time ago. Mark Cousins put a great piece out where he talked about the research that showed that no positive COVID cases have been tracked back to cinema. So yeah, I agree all there. I agree in the logic. I just think, as much as I miss the cinema, and I fucking miss the cinema, I really do, I am prepared to wait that little bit longer in the hope that when they reopen, they can reopen and not reshut. Not like what we had last year, and where we had uncertainty, which led to Cineworld, even when cinemas were allowed to be reopening, to then close again, because cinemas need to be reopened on a constant, on a long time basis for distributors to then say, right, we have the confidence to bring your product into our cinema and to give our product to you, and not think that it's going to be economically beneficial for us to just put it up on PVOD. If cinemas are safe, the social distancing measures, I know it puts some people off. We've done a little bit of research on this. It doesn't seem to put too many people off, but it puts enough people off, I think, where you can see kind of the kind of benefits of maybe being closed that little bit longer, in the hope that we are out of the worst of it. I know as we record, there's talk of a third wave in Europe. We just got to hope for the best. And as I say, there's no point in reopening now and then only for maybe, just after summertime being told, well, actually, we've got to shut down again.
Oh, no, 100%. Like, I completely agree with you on that front. And I mean, we can all understand each other here. It is just the frustration, because for some of us, the cinema, it is an escapism. It is, like you say, sometimes everyone has really bad days, and I think whether they go with a friend or they go by themselves, like I've done plenty of times, it's like, right, just I need to take my mind off stuff. I'll pick out 2 films that I like the looks of, and I can go and sit in a dark room for like 6 hours and, and then, just take my mind off things. But yeah, as you say, it would be definitely is the wiser decision to hold off that little bit longer, in the hopes that when they finally reopen, they can do for the foreseeable future, instead of this chopping and changing, like, oh, we're reopening, gotta close again. But in terms of the PVOD services, I'll happily purchase, Godzilla versus Kong. As much as I'd love to see it on a big screen, I'll happily buy it to watch at home. Black Widow, if it came down to it and it had the, we were still waiting by that point, again, I probably would. I mean, I've waited this long for it. I'll pick it up in rental and I'll check it out. So it's not everyone's cup of tea though, but I do understand that as well.
I will say this as well, just to caveat, as another caveat to my own point about being prepared to wait, because I'm a because I'm a member of the Prince Charles Cinema in London, because I go to London quite a bit for the film festivals. Their membership's quite cheap. It's only like something like, I think, £20 a year. They've been sending me a lot of emails about their plans for reopening, and I'm very jealous. I think they're reopening in May, I think. Or maybe even before that, but I'm kind of going to go. I want to go to London. I want to go to London. I just want to move. Someone watching or listening, just let me move in with you in London, and I'll happily, I'll take you to the Prince Charles and we'll go watch like teen movies every Friday, bit of Clueless, all that kind of stuff. Live the dream. They might even let me throw on Cocoon, so I can take both of you to go show you what a wonderful film it is. But yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I was the person who was there the day cinemas reopened here in Northern Ireland. I went to go see, it was Onward, the Pixar film. Went to see it. I know it'd been out for a while, but just like, I want to get back to cinema. Watched a lot of stuff at the cinema when it was reopened and miss it like hell, but can't wait for it to come back. Victoria, you aren't tempted at all? Has anything tempted you at all, Victoria, to go down the PVOD route?
Not yet, but I'm hoping something comes up. A lot of stuff I'm watching at the minute is like I can rent it on Amazon Prime, and it's quite cheap. Like it's £2-3 because it's some of the older films, but I haven't seen anything yet that would make me want to pay like £20. Depends how long it takes for the cinemas to reopen. Like I might just get frustrated.
It's a lot of money. I made the point, I think it was when we were doing the Coming to America podcast with the guys from The Sixth Sense. I think had I watched Barb and Star on Amazon Prime, for whatever it is, my rental fee, or whatever it is, my monthly payment for that is, whatever it is, I think it's like $7.99 or something, I probably wouldn't have minded it. But the fact that it's what was $16.99 or whatever it was, and it's made by the people who did Bridesmaids. We've got Jamie Dornan, one of our own, Mr. Grey, singing and dancing. He's singing to a seagull. He's doing his normal accent. You've got a weird Kirsten Wiig performance. And I love Kirsten Wiig. She's kind of in one half being kind of full on Kirsten Wiig, kind of, because I think that's where those characters came from Saturday Night Live. And then we have her also doing this weird kind of Dr. Evil, an albino Dr. Evil character. It's just a complete mess of a film. And I was so down on it because the fact I had spent $15.99, whatever it was, for the privilege to watch it, and it was like, right, this after nearly a year is what I fucking give in and pay for, and I hate it. But talking of stuff that's coming to Amazon Prime, or talking about Amazon Prime, I can't wait. I think it's in April. The Adam Sandler, the Andy Samberg comedy Palm Springs, with its elements of Groundhog Day is finally coming to the UK, and I can't wait for that. It got really good reviews at Sundance, and I was speaking to a couple of critics that I'd got to know through at the London Film Festival who've seen it at Sundance and just said it was great. So can't wait for that. It was Sundance last year, not this year, of course. So yeah, look, that's a lot of stuff we've talked about the news, and I noticed that none of us really mentioned the Oscars, the awards season. I'll be honest, I'm not enthused for them this year at all. I think it's just with the fact I haven't been to the cinema. There's some stuff I've seen on online stuff that I think is fine. I think it's fully worthy, but I don't have the same interest this year, and I'm the person who sits up to all hours and watches it. I'm the person who sat and danced around his room when Parasite won Best Picture, 2 years ago, well last year. But I'm not enthused. I know, James, you said let's do a pod about the Oscar nominations, and my response was meh. Yeah, do we really need to? And even more so after watching the shambles that was the Golden Globes experience, which just looked terrible. And I think the Academy, because it's in April, they're going to be doing that 29th or something around of April. I think the Oscars are this year. They're later, of course, because of COVID. But I think they are going to do a physical event. They are not doing over Zoom kind of thing at all, because it just didn't work with the Globes. I don't know what way the BAFTAs are going to be working. I'm not quite certain. But James, you were getting very kind of agitated when we mentioned the awards. So clearly this is your point to go on as much of a rant as I did about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
No, I'm just kidding. That's one big. No, the main pet hate I had this year was that so many films having to be forced onto streaming platforms, and there were some absolute gems. Now, I've watched only a handful of the actual contenders themselves, but even besides that, there were some great films that came out over the space of a year, whether they got proper publicity or not. I was able to find them through Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus, all that. And, in a year where you truly, again, I can't talk, where you truly, could have made it on Oscars like no other, when you could have had, nominations that are completely left field, not expected at all. And to me personally, they just seem like they went for the same old shit. And it's like, I just don't understand why. And if you think I'm wrong, please, honestly, feel free to tear me apart here. But personally, I just think, just a lot of the nominations is just to appease certain types of people, or certain fans or whatnot, and it just annoyed me. That's generally what my pet hate is this year.
I get where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree. I think the fact that so much of these films are now going to streaming services, I think, to be honest, it just makes sense now, because if cinemas aren't closed, if audiences aren't maybe prepared to go to cinema as they would have before, it's probably the best way of getting your content seen by as big an audience as possible. I've seen Nomadland, I've seen Minari, I haven't seen Sound of Metal, but I know it's coming to Amazon Prime in April. Promising Young Woman, I think it's going to Sky Cinema.
Yeah.
Because my honest thought about it, and I think it was a point I heard Mark Kermode make it, and I had to say, because I was like you, James, as that person kind of going, oh yeah, they could have done this and could have done that. But I was kind of thinking in hindsight, a lot of these films, and it's that privileged position where you get, when you are a film critic, and not that I'm, established in any sense, but I've been able to get screeners for a lot of stuff, and a lot of this stuff I do find myself watching. It's nice to have the option. You watch it on a screener on your iPad, on your computer. It's nice to have the option to be able to go see it in the cinema. But I don't know. I don't have an issue. It's weird, yes, that Nomadland is going to be on Disney Plus, but I think it is also going to get a cinematic release in May as well. I got an email today to confirm that. I don't know. There's some interesting titles in there. I think I agree with you. It could have been much more diverse, much more different. But I think there's enough there to at least kind of a year on from the Parasite win to at least for me show that the Academy, and to an extent even BAFTA, not the Golden Globes, let's not go there, have definitely shown signs of diversifying and responding to audiences. in a way that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we've got 2 female directors up for Best Director. I think that's the first time in a long, long time. I would love to see Minari win Best Picture. I think it's lovely. Our very own Colette Fahy reviewed it for us on the website. She got to see it in America, where she is in Washington. I got to see it online at the Glasgow Film Festival. I think it's just lovely. I don't know if it will win. I haven't seen everything that's up for nomination yet, so I can't really say one way or another. Where are you weighing in on this, Victoria Brown?
See, to be honest, I haven't really been keeping up with the Oscars the last couple of years. Like you said, they do kind of tend to pander to certain expectations, and I just got bored of it. So to tell you the truth, I couldn't even tell you what's up for nomination this year at all. But it's good to see that they are trying to diversify, because they have a very specific kind of winner and a kind of film that wins. So it's good to see more artsy stuff, more women, more people of color getting recognition for all the hard work they do.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, I do think Soul will probably take home the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, but it's great to see that Wolfwalkers locally produced feature, which is available, I think, on Apple Plus. I think that's available at the minute, is absolutely lovely. Anything, I forget the name of the animation studio. I apologize, listeners, and I apologize, viewers, off the top of my head, but they have done some amazing stuff. They did the Song of the Sea, all that kind of stuff. It's a lovely animation studio, and Wolfwalkers, if you haven't seen it, is well worth a watch. It was someone from Into Film, Sean from Into Film, who we've had on the TV show, maybe not so much the pod, before, recommended it for me, and I watched it and just thought it was lovely. It's up to their usual high standard. I would be rooting for it any other year when, if Soul wasn't there, but, it is. I do think it'll win Best Animated Feature. But I don't think I'm going to sit up and watch it this year. I really don't. I think it'll be a case of go to bed nice and early, get up the next day and check Variety or somewhere and go, oh, they won. Chadwick Boseman is probably a shoe-in. I think he's up for Best Actor. I'm not sure what way, because we have a few where you think that would be a supporting role compared to actor. But I think Chadwick Boseman is probably a shoe-in for Best Actor. And, it might not be his greatest performance. I think he's great in that role. In the same way Heath Ledger won posthumously for The Dark Knight. It would be nice to see him still being honoured, but you just hope it's more than just the fact that he's no longer here. But that's kind of that. Loads of news. We've talked quite a bit. So I think we'll actually move to some stuff that we've watched. And Victoria Brown, I heard you've been renting a few titles, a few oldies. Now, this is where I get old, and I feel really old when you say, oh, what's this really old movie? And you're like, yeah, I remember when that was out in the cinema. So what have you been watching, Miss Brown?
No, these are actually old, so don't worry. I watched, because there's a load of silent films on YouTube, they've got the full thing on it, and most of them do have English subtitles. So I watched The Hands of Orlac, which is about a musician who gets into a train crash and loses his hands and gets new ones sewed on, but they're the hands of a serial killer or something. Do you know the Simpsons episode with the hair?
I really thought for a second, Victoria, you're going to say he was given the hands of a gorilla, the hands of a monkey. That would have definitely got me leaving this podcast right now and going straight to YouTube. But I don't think I've seen it, but I'm aware of the film that you are referencing. So I cut across you for a cheap gag. I apologize, Victoria. So I hand things back over to you.
I've got a little list here. Let's see. The Mask of Red Death and The Pit and the Pendulum. Getting some of Vincent Price stuff. Creepshow. Watched that for the first time, the Stephen King anthology. Matthew, my partner, walked in on me halfway through. If you haven't seen it, I think it's the third act. I think it's Leslie Nielsen is the villain, and he's buried someone in the sand up to his neck. My partner walked in and he was like, what the are you watching? And I was like, go away, this is really funny. What else? Rope, the Hitchcock film.
Had you not seen Rope before this?
No. It's one of those ones I'd read bits and pieces about, but I hadn't seen it. But I thought it was amazing. It took me a second to realize that there's virtually no editing
Oh, there is editing.
Like,
There's
sneaky editing.
There's a lot of editing. You know, I know if Robert J. Simpson was here, he would kind of run to the film's defense. But
Yeah.
no, Rope is great. But because I think Joe McElroy and I did a little podcast where we discussed Rope a while ago when we were talking about the 1917 when it was out, when it was all kind of made to look like one shot.
Yeah.
You can see when you watch it. I think Rope's great, and I think Rope's way ahead of its time, and I think it's a better film even than, say, Birdman, which was out, you know, maybe 5-6 years ago. But I think when you watch it now, you can see it's unavoidable where you can see where the cut points. I forget how many off the top of my head where they are.
Yeah.
But it is sensational, and you've got some great performances in that film. I'm surprised you've only seen that now, Victoria.
Yeah, so am I. Like, I don't know why I waited so long, because it was so worth it. And then, yesterday I watched that new Seaspiracy on Netflix. If either of you have got it on your radar.
I've seen it on my Netflix suggested viewing when I'm scrolling past.
Yeah. Scrolling past being the...
Should I go back and go into it and give it a watch, Miss Brown?
There is a bit of the, like, white savior kind of thing with the guy that is documenting everything, but it is a good watch. Like, I found it very difficult to watch. There are some scenes that are a bit brutal, but the main takeaway from it is don't eat fish. So that's summary of the whole film for you.
Okay. All right. Okay. I might be tempted to give it a view. I need to be in the mood for that type of stuff, but that's that. I don't know if you've sold it for me completely, especially when I'm maybe thinking possibly maybe a fish and chip this weekend. I don't know. It's good. It's Good Friday. You have to go to the chippy. You have to get fish and chip. Everybody knows that it's the done thing. And if you're going to tell me don't eat fish, you know, maybe I'll watch it after Easter. Say no more. I've just offended a lot of people, but let's not go there. James, I mean, any of the films that Victoria's mentioned, have you seen, or what have you been watching?
So this is where I I confess that I'm a complete sham and I don't know what I'm doing, because not only have I never heard of the films Victoria was just mentioning and talking about, never seen them either. So yeah, and you know what? If for people who have listened to the various podcasts that I've featured on here and kind of have grasped already, Old School, as much as I'd like to delve into it, I've never quite gotten around to it.
What do you consider to be Old School?
Tread carefully.
Yeah, I don't like. If I get this wrong, can you edit it out and then just like voiceover like something in its place? Old School, something like not that I've seen it, but something like the Alamo or Waterloo.
Okay, good.
Never seen them, but that's something like that.
Okay.
Does that make it better or worse? I haven't seen them and I'm referring to them.
Well, what I would recommend, James, is I would recommend after this recording, go on Amazon or CX or somewhere. I'll hold it up, and unfortunately, if you're listening to this podcast, you'll not be able to see it. But buy yourself this, right?
I've seen that before. I've seen that for sale before. I just walked past it.
The Alfred Hitchcock Masterclass Collection, and it is you just realize. I know we did around this time last year, maybe slightly later last year, curated by the lovely Miss Brown, where we did a little thing about our showcase of our favorite Hitchcock movies, and you just realize how ahead of his time he was. Yes, there's some problems with Hitchcock as a filmmaker. There's no getting away from that, and the issues of the male gaze. There's no denying that. But as a filmmaker, as a visionary who understood the visual power of cinema, definitely worth your while. Rope. I think when Joe and I chatted about it, I think coming into it now and the hype that's been around, I think some people will be left a little bit maybe underwhelmed by it. But if you look at what Hitchcock was trying to do and what he was trying to do, I think he succeeded. I just think, it's just a masterclass. And then when you watch that, just kind of move on to stuff like the Touch of Evil and all that kind of stuff. Those are bona fide classics. But say no more. But anyway, we were getting at you, James, just because you hadn't seen them, hadn't heard them before. So what have you heard of and what have you been watching?
Recently, I picked up a couple of steelbooks from CEX. I'm a steelbook collector. I mean, I like not I'm not apologizing for it because I do love a shiny steelbook. Sometimes it is just the better cover art as opposed to the regular Blu-rays. But I picked up a couple of them. I got American Psycho, which you and I, Jim, talked about in depth. It was around about this time last year, I think it was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Here's a key question, James. How many
Yes.
copies of American Psycho have you got now?
Only the 2, actually, surprisingly.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, I could pick up the 4K, but I don't have a 4K TV, so therefore it's pointless at this moment in time.
You could be retro. You could pick it up on VHS.
I have looked for it. I haven't found it yet though, but I would love to have it on VHS because I remember the copy they had in Extravision, and whenever I looked at the back cover, it's the scene from when he drops the chainsaw on your girl, and it's like that grimace on his face, and that always terrified me as a kid. And I was like, never watching that. Now here we are, 20-somewhat years later. It's one of my favorite films. So, I got that. I picked up 7 as well. On Steelbook again, probably my favorite film from David Fincher. I got, what else did I get? See, this
I don't know. You've got to tell us.
I know. I'm trying to think. How is it? If I can see from the top here, because it's up here. So for with me 1 second. What else did I get? Oh yes, that was it. Sorry, RoboCop as well.
Oh, nice.
Not the 2014 car crash of a film.
Never.
The original with Paul Weller. It's a great show.
Is this the Arrow remaster? 4K?
No. It was I think it was the older Steelbook they did. So it was. So I got that. Again, it's one of my favorite sci-fi films in general, which I love. And what have I been watching recently? Last night I checked out. I went on Netflix and I was browsing because I always seem to go to Prime these days. So I went to Netflix for a change because I haven't been on in a while. And I found it was a Jesse Eisenberg one from 2019 called The Art of Self-Defense. And it had caught my attention a while back, the trailer, and I never, saw of it again. And then it was on Netflix last night. And I was like, oh, cool, that's on there. So I stuck it on. Really good, actually. Went completely a different direction, like in the last half from what I thought it was going to be, but in a good way, not in a bad way. So it's like a dark comedy. I want to say thriller. It's probably not the right word for it, though. I don't want to say anything in case any of you decide to give it a go. But it's Jesse Eisenberg, Imogen Poots, and yeah, it's quite deadpan comedy. So if you don't like kind of dry humor, you probably won't like it. But yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun, and then I stuck on Molly's Game straight after because I absolutely love that film, and probably one of Jessica Chastain's better roles in the past couple of years. Just recent stuff like, is it Anna or something you call it? And she's got the 355 coming out at the start of next year. Just don't look interesting at all. But yeah, absolutely love Molly's Game. It was probably one of my favorite films of the past decade.
Yeah, it's Aaron Sorkin just doing his frantically fast screenplay. Even though there is the Imagine moment with her and her father. I think is it Kevin Costner?
Yeah.
Kevin Costner's playing her dad, and it's an imagined scene. I know what Sorkin was trying to do. I don't know if it works. Just to go back on your Jesse Eisenberg film, if people don't like Jesse Eisenberg, how will they be able to get past that issue, the Jesse Eisenberg issue, for their enjoyment of the film?
If you don't like Jesse Eisenberg, then you probably won't enjoy it at all. He is like the central character in it, so it's because I don't. It's kind of hard to explain. Like I don't mind dry humor when it's used correctly. The way you'd have certain films that try and use it and it just doesn't work well at all. That's kind of like the main point of this film. Like that's what it aims for. But as I say, in its last half, it just does a complete 180 and turns into something completely different. And I was quite shocked by that. I was like, okay, was not expecting that to go there. But if you can stick with it, like I say, it's good. Definitely better than Jesse Eisenberg's performance as Lex Luthor, which we talked about heavily in this Justice League pod, so we'll say no more on that. But this is more his role. He's more suited to these types of roles and being very quiet and reserved sort of thing. So yeah.
Okay, well, I could be tempted because I know Imogen Poots and Jesse Eisenberg did the Vivarium together, and I know they talked about working together before, and I think that was one of the films that they mentioned. So I'm tempted. I didn't know it was on Netflix. You've both been watching a lot. Well, one of my films I think is High Caliber. I've been watching a lot of guff. I'm going to say, like, I mean, there's stuff we've probably talked about before, maybe stuff we've missed just with kind of just how long we take between the rambles. There was stuff like I Care a Lot with Rosamund Pike, which I just thought was fucking brilliant. I think she's great. I would love to see. I don't think she got any nominations at the Academy Awards. I'm not sure if the performance, I don't know if she got many nominations. I'm not 100% certain off the top of my head. But if you haven't seen it, I thought it's great. You know, if you liked her in Gone Girl, you'll definitely like her in this. And the score is really good as well. But I've been watching, well, I will level. I'm trying to look at stuff that I remembered. I was scribbling down for what I was watching. And in the last week, I lost a close friend I lived with. So I haven't really been in the mood for something hot and heavy. I've been for deep and meaningful. I've been looking for some cheap thrills and some cheap laughs. I will say this, I haven't got them. I ended up watching stuff like War with Grandpa, which is on Amazon Prime now. Robert De Niro, I think it's directed by Tim Hill. I'm not 100% certain. Let me just check that. It is, Tim Hill directed it. And you've got a great cast. You've got Christopher Walken in there. You've got Jane Seymour in there. You have Uma Thurman in there. And it's trying to go for a Home Alone kind of vibe. And of the two films I know that Robert De Niro has been in that feature the word grandpa, it is definitely the better. It is a lot better than Dirty Grandpa, which is an abomination and a film that's morally repugnant. And I absolutely hate that film. But it's not got an edge. It's a bit slapsticky. It's trying to have a heart of gold. It's fine. It was on. I know it exists. It's there on Amazon Prime. Would I recommend you seek it out? Probably not. If you've kids, maybe, you know, it's got less of a nastier tone, if I can say that, compared to something like Home Alone. Like the violence isn't as kind of, when you look back and go, hang on, isn't this just straw dogs for kids with Home Alone? But it's a perfectly serviceable 3-star film, but you kind of, every time you watch it, you go, Robert, I don't know what you owe on your mortgage, but if that's paying for it, or the other way to look at it, if De Niro's doing that to help out Scorsese to get something else made, as he's done in the past, you know, albeit it's fine, but if you're a De Niro connoisseur, it's going to be way, way down. The one film I watched, and this will be a key test to see if either of you have seen this. I'm going to hope one of you at least have seen this. Not to get all deep and meaningful for a minute, as I say, a friend of mine, Gary Gibson, passed away. We lived together for 3 years. He was the age of 36. And we bonded over Kevin Smith movies. That was kind of how we came. We'd always known each other. We chatted, we bonded and started chatting about Kevin Smith movies. And one particular film was Chasing Amy. And I didn't even realize it was the 25th anniversary of it being released, because I've seen Kevin Smith this week tweeting about it. It's one of his most personal films. And I'll say this, I was really worried about watching Chasing Amy, because it's an LGBT film written by Kevin Smith. We know what Kevin Smith's like now, more so than what he was then, but he was kind of the indie king back then. In the late 90s, is it going to stand the test of time? Some of those LGBT stuff doesn't do. Still a couple of issues that you look back and you go, yeah, you wouldn't say that, you wouldn't get that, but it's still, we have an expletive rating. Fucking brilliant. I fucking love Chasing Him. The one thing I think has been tarred with recently has been, and bringing up Kevin Smith, bringing up Justice League to an extent, when we had Ben Affleck talking about one of the most awkward things in his career was having to kiss a man in Chasing Amy. And Kevin Smith constantly brought that up in recent years. That's kind of why they fell out. And he brought it up again when when Affleck was cast as Batfleck. That's the only thing I say, other than a few bits of dialogue. Chasing Amy is just a fucking brilliant film. And you look at that, you look at Clerks, and you just go, what Kevin Smith's doing now? And I get it. And, you know, Kevin Smith has talked about this. You know, he nearly had a heart attack. He nearly died. So now he just wants to make the movies he wants to make with his friends and be on set and enjoy his experience and not try to make film for critics. I get that. But you watch Chasing Amy, you watch Clerks, to a lesser extent, Mallrats, I'll even throw in Jersey Girl in there as well, which is flawed. It does have Jennifer Lopez in it. It is flawed, but it's got its heart in its right place. And this is a point where I'm hopefully one of you at least have seen Chasing Amy.
I'm so sorry. We're like the worst film fans ever.
More so me than you, Victoria. You know, you've actually seen Netflix. I ain't seen shit, so you know.
I'm not gonna lie, I expected it from Oliver, but from Brian, maybe.
I'm sorry.
No, I would recommend it. I think, you know, there's a couple of kind of terms and maybe couple of bits of dialogue that I think probably are very outdated by today's standard. And there's a particular section, without going into spoilers too much, I know for a film that's 25 years old, with Jason Lee, you know, drawing fictitious creations involving the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, the butch male-hating lesbian, or dyke, I think is the term, my apologies, used, and the sexy kind of lesbian that could be tempted to become Ben Affleck's boyfriend. There's a bit in there that is, I'm not going to lie, when I was younger, I laughed at it because of the punchline it gets, and I'm maybe getting it slightly wrong. There's a couple of little bits of dialogue I think have dated terribly, but it's just a film you watch and you just go, Kevin Smith at the height of his powers as a filmmaker. He had made Clerks, which made him the indie darling. Mallrats was a project he went off and made. Of those three early films, I think it's dated the worst. I was worried that Chasing Amy wasn't going to stand the test of time, but it has. And let me just get the name of the actress. It's Joey Lauren Adams, and she's just fucking brilliant. I've cursed quite a lot in this pod, but I would definitely recommend it. Unfortunately, it's not available on any VOD streaming services. I just picked it up and rented it. I was in the mood to watch it, and I sat back. I was worried about rewatching it, kind of go, oh, what if this really doesn't hold up? Because I've had that recently with a couple other films, but no, I enjoyed it. I loved it. It's just a great film, well worth a watch. And that's kind of, bar some TV. I've been watching The Flight Attendant on Sky, which I think's grand. It's trying to be a bit Hitchcockian. It's definitely better than Behind Her Eyes, which I watched on Netflix, which was just bad. Just was bad. But that's enough of me. That's kind of what I've been watching. Maybe I've sold you on watching Chasing Amy, but if you haven't even seen Cocoon, you've got to watch Cocoon first, then Chasing Amy.
Build up to it.
Yeah, but let's not go there. Let's not let me get into a bitching session. So that's kind of bringing this pod to a close. I will, to an extent, I put you on the spot. I think I maybe mentioned this earlier on. We were recording this just before Easter. What would you recommend to our listeners? Good Easter-themed movie.
Victoria, you can go first.
Are there Easter-themed movies?
There's an obvious answer.
Is there?
Yeah, Alien.
What?
Just watch Alien.
How is that obvious?
Because the alien egg looks a bit like a Easter egg. How long have you been following BanterFlix? Every year, pretty much on Easter, there will be a Facebook post with an egg that looks suspiciously like a xenomorph egg. You know, it's got eggs, all that kind of stuff. It's the obvious choice. It's what I will be watching over Easter, without a doubt. Without a doubt, you know, you have my cast iron guarantee, viewers and listeners. I will be watching Alien at some point over Easter. If Die Hard is a Christmas movie, Alien is an Easter movie. You heard it here first.
Can I suggest a Passover movie?
All right, okay.
Technically not Christian. If you haven't seen it, The Prince of Egypt is fucking incredible. I know it's kind of... It's one of those films I loved as a kid, and I'd be worried about going back and watching it if it didn't live up to the hype, but it's so good. It's Val Kilmer and Ralph Fiennes as Moses and Ramesses, and it's so good.
Isn't it animated? Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's DreamWorks. I think it was one of the first major ones that Jeffrey Katzenberg and Steven Spielberg worked on together.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have seen it. It's been a while since I've seen it. I might have seen it in the cinema. I'm not 100% certain, but I have seen it. So yeah, I mean, that's me being completely apologetic. You know, we're talking here about Easter. We should be talking about Passover as well. So James, you've got two choices now. Just to finish things up, what are you going to go? Are you going to go for a Passover movie, or are you going to go for an Easter movie?
I'll go for an Easter film and offend a lot of people with this one.
Oh no,
Life of Brian.
Yes.
Who are you going to offend? Who are you going to offend?
Trust me, there's going to be some Christians in the comments that are going to come after me for that. I'm telling you. Yeah, you know someone's going to be like, that's blasphemy right there.
Yeah.
Get him. No, The Life of Brian, perfect Easter film.
Hey,
Tell me
That's
I'm
a
wrong.
perfect answer.
hang on a minute, James. You're talking to the person who was on Radio Ulster a couple of years ago talking about The Life of Brian, who then kind of said, you know what I love about Life of Brian? It just takes the piss. I didn't say take the piss. It just sends up the fact that how so many people misinterpret the religion and misinterpret what Christ and what religion means. And I was very quickly and aptly saved by the host who said, not all Christians. It's like, yeah, of course. So look, I mean, not all's going to happen there. I mean, I've been there and done that. I absolutely love Life of Brian. It's not my favorite Monty Python film. I will be honest. It's not my favorite. I do love the Holy Grail, but
it's like, I think it's when you rewatch it, because like I first saw it as a kid, which you know, at like my granny's house years and years ago.
Yep.
And then when you and then when you rewatch it now, like, and you understand the context of everything more, and you're like, this is absolutely brilliant. But I do have a film as well for, you know, if you're wanting to be more serious in terms of that. Exodus, Gods versus Kings by Ridley Scott. It's decent. I mean, very long.
That's the Christian Bale one, isn't it?
Yeah. So, see, I'm offering both sides of the field.
it's all right.
Comedy effect, serious effect.
I actually think Exodus is a really good double bill with Prometheus and Alien Covenant, if you so wish. Because I actually love how Ridley Scott is someone who's clearly fascinated by religion. He really is when you sit and look at him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so look, I don't think we're gonna top that, to be honest. You know, I think we've all got some great choices. James is clearly going to get stuck into McFlurry here. You know, listeners.
So jealous.
Deliver, like, what could you ask for better?
Listeners can't see that. You know, Victoria and I've got an empty glass. I was drinking some water. Victoria's got some coffee. James has got a McFlurry. So I think we will bring this ramble to a close, and let James enjoy his ice cream. What have you got? The key question was, James, what have you got in your McFlurry?
I think it's crunchy.
Ooh, nice.
It's never a good sign when you have to say, I think.
I know, it's chocolate coated balls, so yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Chocolate something.
Yeah. It's chocolate. That's all that matters.
It's stuff. It's stuff delivered to your room. That's what more could you possibly want?
I mean, I'm not going to get this when I move out, you know, so.
Milk it while you can.
Yeah,
exactly.
Go for it. Go for it. Maybe I'd ask for a soft drink as well from that well-known fast food purveyor that is somewhere that has those golden gates, those golden arches.
Golden arches.
You know, maybe got a Happy Meal. I don't know. They've got a Jurassic Park theme at the minute. You know, yeah.
I'll be right back.
So we'll let James enjoy his McFlurry and say that, of course, all other fast food places are available, but you can't get a McFlurry anywhere else other than McDonald's. And now I want a McFlurry. So all that's really left for me to do now is to thank both my contributors. Thank you very much, Victoria Brown.
Thank you, Jim.
And thank you very much, James Oliver.
Thank you, Jim. Pleasure as always.
I was so disappointed. I thought you would try to speak with your mouth full of ice cream.
No.
Or maybe try to eat it really quickly and get brain freeze. Although you don't really get brain freeze from McFlurry. So, you know.
Possibly.
Depends how you eat it. I don't know. You know, you take your time and savor a McFlurry. You don't just chomp it. That's
slow and methodical.
Yeah, that's it. So that's enough from us for this month's Ramble. We'll be back next month with another Ramble. But in the meantime, as always, there'll be loads of podcasts in between now and then. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back soon. Goodbye.
This has been We Need to Talk About Movies. Thanks for listening. For more information, visit BanterFlix.com. See you next time